Last month, I went to a OnePlus pop-up in Bangalore, met a bunch of cool people, and that got me thinking. OnePlus has had an interesting journey over the last 4 years. I've loved some things, hated quite a few things, and I thought that would make for an interesting video. Well, after 1 month of procrastination, I'm Ash, this is C4E Tech, where we do procrastinate from time to time. Okay, all the time. This video is what you get. So, if you do end up liking it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and now let's get to my experience with OnePlus in the last 4 years. Let's jump right back to the start. The OnePlus One, it set the tech world alight, packed with top-of-the-line specs, coming with Cyanogen mod on board. The asking price was just half of that of what mainstream flagships demanded. OnePlus didn't resort to traditional marketing, instead chose to rely on word-of-mouth advertising. They did have the invite system, which was, meh. Well, units began to fly off shelves, cracks had begun to appear in the relationship between OnePlus and their software partner Cyanogen. Ultimately, this led to Cyanogen abandoning OnePlus and partnering up with, of all brands, Micromax in their juvenile attempt to combat Xiaomi. I'm sure there was some guy in Micromax who thought, hey, they're calling it me. You know what? We should call it you. Ha ha. Really? Anyway, that meant the OnePlus One did not get the software support it deserved, and OnePlus had to go back to the drawing board. And they promised to come up with Oxygen OS. Personally, I was like, I didn't think they were going to do it well. But then came the OnePlus Two, and this is one of those times where I was happy to be wrong. Oxygen OS, while a little short on features, was very close to stock. It was light and fast and made for an enjoyable experience. Today, Oxygen OS has evolved to be one of the fastest skins on the market. Now, talking about the OnePlus 2, it was one controversial phone. First off, Qualcomm messed up big time with the Snapdragon 810, which had overheating and thus throttling issues. While some brands addressed this with custom cooling solutions, others refused to launch a phone with 810 inside. Some even opted for the lower 808 instead. OnePlus though decided to go an entirely different route. They went ahead and underclocked the chip to control the thermals and avoid throttling. It wasn't a perfect or even elegant solution, but strangely enough, it worked. The OnePlus 2 was a decent device, and the first one that came out with that alert slider that we've all grown to love. But it had one annoying flaw. The fact that it wasn't all metal, as was fast becoming the trend, meant OnePlus lost out a few style points. They addressed that in their next release, the OnePlus 3. What is that? I missed a phone? Ah yes, the one that must not be named. The OnePlus X, the company's only ever attempt to craft a smaller phone. The build on the OnePlus X was great, especially that ceramic back, that really looked pretty. And you guys know how much I love small phones, but this one just didn't take off as well as OnePlus wanted it to. The OnePlus X was abandoned, which I really hated. Now, failed experiment out of the way, OnePlus returned with a renewed vigor for the OnePlus 3. This was a knockout performer from OnePlus. They absolutely nailed it. The desire for metal by the community was fulfilled at the expense of style swap backs. That was a major feature that the first devices had, but at least one couldn't complain about the build anymore. It was an all-metal unibody design. Inside, the OnePlus 3 had the top-of-the-line Snapdragon 820 with a whopping 6 gigs of RAM. What was really new here was that the camera could finally compete with Tier 1 flagships. With the OnePlus 3, while OnePlus still didn't outscore the Samsung or Apple flagships, the gap between them had shrunk quite considerably. Now, the second half of the year, OnePlus surprised and annoyed, again, the word annoyed, a few of us by dropping the OnePlus 3T. Apple has their S series and S plus, or rather OnePlus S equals T. We get it, OnePlus, but then Apple has their S series once every 2 years, not 6 months. But anyway, we got the OnePlus 3T. For 2,000 rupees more, you get a better processor, a slightly bigger battery, a hugely improved selfie camera, and the rest of it remained the same. Well, the backlash was there among a minority of OnePlus fans. The device was greeted with a massively positive response all across the world. It was one of the standout performers of 2016. It was a bold move from OnePlus, and turns out it was quite a successful one. Then came 2017 and expectations were high from the OnePlus 5. They skipped out on 4, they went with 5, and yet again OnePlus delivered. The price point had been raised yet again. But the dual cameras, the blazing fast performance, and a rarely seen at even the priciest of flagship 8 gigs of RAM made the OnePlus 5 a compelling enough package that we didn't really mind the price hike. What felt like a flash, half a year had elapsed and the smartphone market was being bombarded by phones with 18:9 displays. Now the 3T was supposed to be a one-time only T phone, but a year after they said they wouldn't do it, guess what? They did it again. The OnePlus 5T happened and that was awkward. I was disappointed that this phone even existed, but for what it's worth, OnePlus showed that they were just trying to stay relevant and they weren't trying to squeeze more money out of the fans by keeping the price the same. The 5T came out at the same price as the OnePlus 5. While this did annoy recent OnePlus 5 buyers, it went a long way in appeasing the community. The 5T has a brilliant Full HD Plus 18:9 6.01 inch display, again AMOLED. And to the back, OnePlus made a change to the dual camera setup. Now this is one where I went in with most misgivings, as I did quite like the telephoto lens on the OnePlus 5, but the new sensor combination took some decent portrait shots and improved on the low light imaging, so it wasn't a total deal breaker. Personally, I still prefer the 2x optical zoom or 1.6x, you know what happened there. What about you? Let us know in the comments below. So that's about it. The journey so far has been great and OnePlus have livened things up with special editions here and there. The Star Wars edition was one we at C4 Tech were really hyped about. To associate with a name as big as Disney, especially for something as huge as the Star Wars franchise, you know, from the days of the Cyanogen Association, it feels like OnePlus have come a real long way. I happened to be at the OnePlus pop-up, like I said, in Bangalore, and felt even the fans could feel that this was something special. It was a great experience for us, for me. And by the way, if you want to know more about the Star Wars edition OnePlus 5T, you know what to do. So before we wrap, one thing I've liked and disliked at the same time about OnePlus is their software support. The early days, thanks to the missteps, OnePlus's software track record hadn't been great. It was one of my biggest annoyances with the brand, but for the last 2 years, OnePlus seems to be turning things around. Yes, issues still do exist, but for the most part, they've been quite fast with their updates. So the OnePlus 3 and 3T have received 2 major Android upgrades. That's kind of the support you get with a tier 1 flagship. OnePlus in a short while have managed to carve out a niche for themselves in a very competitive arena dominated mainly by giant players like Samsung and Apple. And they've managed to do so by staying with the trend, listening to user complaints and addressing them for the most part. So maybe that means we get the embedded fingerprint scanner on the OnePlus X. You know, jokes apart, as long as they don't remove the fingerprint scanner and go with a facial recognition something, or do something stupid like remove the headphone jack, I'd be really happy. So this has been OnePlus's journey and everything I liked and disliked about it. When I look back now, I feel the number of things I've liked far outweigh the things I haven't. What about you? Do you have fond memories of when you look back at OnePlus, or are you annoyed for some reason? I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you think there are any major areas that you'd like to see OnePlus improve? And what would you like to see them do to be taken as seriously as, say, Samsung or Apple? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you hated this video, I'm sure you know what to do, but if you did like it, if you found it fresh, a stark departure from our regular unboxing and reviews, then do give this video a thumbs up, click that subscribe button and tap the bell icon to get on our notification squad. So that's it for now. Till next time, my name's Ash, you've been watching C4 Tech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye bye.